Emma, an 8-year-old girl, was excited to explore her new home. As she wandered into the backyard, she stumbled upon an old, dusty shed. Inside, she found a doll dressed in a crimson Victorian dress with glassy green eyes and black hair. Entranced by its beauty, she decided to keep it. Naming it Rose, that night as Emma slept, the doll sat quietly on her nightstand. But when she awoke the next morning, the doll had moved. It was now on the floor, staring at her with those same glassy eyes. Emma brushed it off as her imagination, but a sense of unease began to creep in. Days passed, and strange things started happening. Objects moved on their own, doors creaked open, and the house grew colder at night. Emma's mother noticed the changes too, but she tried to comfort Emma, telling her it was just the stress of moving. However, things took a dark turn one night when Mrs. Miller went to the kitchen for a glass of water. There, she found Rose sitting on the counter, staring at her. Before she could react, the kitchen knives floated in the air and, in a flash, attacked her. Mrs. Miller never stood a chance. The next morning, Emma found the house in chaos. Her father, Mr. Miller, was devastated, unable to comprehend what had happened. Emma clutched Rose tightly, the only thing she had left. But Rose's influence was growing stronger. Mr. Miller started hearing whispers, seeing shadows move in the corner of his eyes. Late one night, as he worked in his study, Rose appeared on his desk. Shadows engulfed him, suffocating him, and by morning he was gone too. Emma was left alone, terrified and confused. Her Aunt Clara came to take care of her, but she too fell victim to the doll's sinister powers. Rose manipulated her, leading her to a fatal fall from the window. Emma, overwhelmed by grief and fear, knew she had to stop Rose. Determined, Emma gathered the courage to confront the doll. She grabbed Rose, pouring lighter fluid over it. The doll's eyes flashed, and it tried to scare Emma with whispers, but Emma was resolute. She struck a match and set Rose on fire. As the doll burned, unnatural screams filled the air, and a dark figure tried to escape. But Emma, with all her might, forced it back into the flames. When the fire finally died down, the house was silent. The spirits of her parents and Aunt Clara appeared, comforting Emma and telling her how brave she was. They assured her they would always watch over her, and then they gently faded away. Feeling a wave of relief wash over her, Emma closed her eyes, believing the nightmare was finally over. But when she opened them again, she found herself lying in her bed, drenched in sweat. She realized she had just awoken from a horrific dream. Her room was quiet, and everything seemed normal until she turned her head and saw the same doll, Rose, lying beside her. Panic surged through her veins. Without hesitation, Emma grabbed Rose, her heart pounding. She ran to the garbage bin outside and tossed the doll in, slamming the lid shut. Breathing heavily, she rushed back inside, ran straight to her parents' room, and threw herself into their arms, trembling. Her parents, startled, hugged her tightly, trying to comfort her. Emma clung to them, tears streaming down her face, too afraid to explain the terror she had just experienced. But as she held on to them, she felt a tiny bit safer, hoping that the nightmare wouldn't follow her into the waking world.